Here's what's coming up tonight on News Center Now. Should safe injection sites be established in the state of Maine? Some say yes, it could help the opioid crisis.
Have you hit any bad potholes lately? Boy, I have. Coming up, we're going to meet a kid whose mom hit a bad pothole, and he decided to do something about it. This is News Center Now.
Question, should Maine have safe injection sites? A question front and center in Augusta today. Good evening, everybody. I'm Lee Nelson.
And I'm Lindsay Mills. Supporters say the safe places can prevent overdose deaths and get drug users the help they need. Others say there are better ways to solve the opioid crisis in Maine.
My son called me from his bedroom 20 feet away and saying, "Mommy, my stomach hurts and I can't see anymore."
A mother's plea for help.
And I watched him take his last breath.
Janet Allen says she's speaking up for all the mothers who've lost children to the opioid crisis. She was among the many in Augusta voicing support of proposed legislation to create overdose prevention sites, also known as safe injection sites.
We know that there are challenges both with federal law and with regulations in undertaking an initiative like this, but we face a crisis.
Dr. Noah Nesson and others asking the Health and Human Services Committee at a public hearing to support LD 949.
In our current circumstances where people are dying at alarming rates, it justifies moving forward.
The sites are supposed to provide clean, safe, supervised places for users to inject themselves. Trained people are on hand to administer naloxone in the event of an overdose, but also provide resources if an addict wants to quit. Opponents of safe injection sites sounding off on Facebook. Some say it enables drug use. Clayton writes, "How can there be a legal site for doing something illegal? Come on now, illegal is illegal." Rich writes, "There are better ways to treat this problem. The politicians need to get out of the game." And Therese says, "We need more treatment centers and outreach programs, not safe injection sites. That is just enabling." Similar sites have been proposed in cities like Philadelphia, New York, and San Francisco. But in Massachusetts, Governor Charlie Baker has made it clear he does not support the concept, which goes against federal policy. Now, the proposed legislation has been amended to include that municipalities can opt out. They can decide ultimately if a safe injection site were to go there or not. Also, private agencies would have to run these sites using private funds, but the extent of who those private agencies are or who they might be is unclear at this time.
Got it. Got it. So this is not going to happen tomorrow anyway.
Right. The discussion will certainly continue.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's find out what's going to happen tomorrow. And I think we should skip Wednesday, but let's find out what's going to happen tomorrow on the weather. Hey, Keith.
You been reading ahead?
I always kind of read ahead because I don't.
You got to make plans.
Yeah.
To be an informed consumer.
Yes, exactly.
All right, upper 30s right now in Portland, 33 in Waterville. It's been chilly though, especially because we've had a pretty strong wind. Take a look at these wind speeds at 37 miles an hour in Portland, 35 in Greenville, and 32 in Rockland. And so what's happening here is we have a pretty decent wind chill for the beginning of April. The wind chill feels like 27 in Westcasset, 25 in Bangor, 14 in Greenville, 19 in Caribou. So pretty brisk out there, certainly not unheard of for April 1st, but cooler than we've been. Satellite clean, nice and sunny today. A couple of high thin clouds moving into the mountains, but overnight tonight should be clear, and tomorrow looks really good. I think it's the best day. It's definitely the best day of the work week. Probably the best day of the week in general. Temperatures getting into the mid-40s by tomorrow afternoon under mostly sunny skies. By the way, the winds will settle by early tomorrow morning, so those will be gone. Then things get more interesting as we head into Wednesday. A storm system approaches. The bulk of this storm looks to be offshore, but it's such a large storm spatially that it will throw some precipitation back at us. Guys, it will be a mixture of rain and snow, and we've got a snowfall map to talk about for Wednesday. So Lee was right about that.
Oh boy, Keith, thanks. In some headlines today, it was an unusual first day in the trial of Shauna Gatto, the woman from Wiscasset charged with killing 4-year-old Kendall Chick almost 16 months ago. It started with opening statements from the prosecution, so that's normal. But then the defense team informed the judge and jury would not be delivering opening statements at this time. So the case went right to witnesses for the prosecution. They included first responders who rushed to the house after a 911 call and found Kendall's lifeless body on the floor. Clay Gordon is covering this trial for us, and he'll have much more ahead on News Center Maine at 5:30 and 6.
Some of the interveners are
The first day of a big public hearing has just wrapped up in Farmington. It's a week-long meeting on Central Maine Power's plan to build a $1 billion, 145-mile power line right through western Maine. It's to send power from Canada down to Massachusetts. The hearing is being held all this week on the campus of UMaine Farmington. It's being put together by the Maine Department of Environmental Protection and the Maine Land Use Planning Commission, and we're going to have more on day one of the public meeting in the next 90 minutes as well.
In some national news, a whistleblower from inside the White House has come forward saying 25 people in the Trump administration were granted access to classified information even though they had what she termed disqualifying issues in their backgrounds. Among those issues, foreign influence, drug use, and criminal conduct. The whistleblower's name is Tricia Newbold, and she is a longtime White House security advisor. She says the 25 were initially denied security clearances, but then granted access when Trump aides intervened. Newbold brought the issue to Congress, calling it a last hope for addressing what she considers inappropriate conduct. No comment from the White House.
A man from South Carolina is under arrest this evening, charged with kidnapping and killing a 21-year-old college student. Police say she got into the man's car thinking it was the Uber that she had called. Security video shows Samantha Josephson, a student at the University of South Carolina, leaving a bar, this is early Friday morning, and stepping into a black Chevy Impala that, again, she thought was the Uber she called. Her body was found later that day, and police then arrested Nathaniel Rowland after spotting his car near where she was last seen. Now, Josephson University is starting a campaign to keep other rideshare users safe by asking drivers a simple question: what is my name? And if they don't know, then you don't get in the car.
It's a really good point there.
Yeah.
I know that's just the way to do it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Sometimes you get so used to it, you just jump in.
Yeah. So always got to be careful. You never know. Lawmakers in New York have agreed to ban plastic bags. The ban will be on most types of single-use plastic bags from retail stores. It will be phased in over the next year, taking effect fully in March of 2020. Some bags will still be okay, including bags used to wrap deli meat and newspaper bags. The plan has an extra element, allowing counties to charge a 5-cent fee for paper bags. The trade group representing New York grocery stores has fought this, saying it would have a drastic impact on retailers. California and Hawaii also have plastic bag bans.
You know, something as simple as driving to the doctor's office can be really hard for somebody who is undergoing cancer treatments.
The American Cancer Society has a program to help people with just that. It's called the Road to Recovery. News Center's Jackie Mundry joins us now from Bangor with details on this program. Hey, Jackie.
Hey, Lee and Lindsay. The Road to Recovery program provides rides to and from doctor's appointments and procedures to cancer patients. The program is run through the American Cancer Society, and all the drivers are volunteers. The program is currently in need of more volunteers.
I know when people are considering a volunteer opportunity, they think about what kind of time do I have to commit to that. So what is the time commitment for this, Jackie?
So it's pretty flexible for volunteers. Drivers don't have any commitment of being there every week at a certain time like some other volunteer programs might be. Instead, your volunteers are able to work with their schedules. Drivers do use their own car and pay for their own gas, though.
So after hearing that, why is the program having a hard time finding people to drive?
So from the people I've talked to with the American Cancer Society, it sounds like a lot of the volunteers are seniors themselves and have decided to stop driving, or some of them go back to work to find a job to supplement their income. And some, as I said, they're seniors, some of them get sick themselves. Last year, there were 133 drivers across the state. Now there are just 78. And not only are there fewer drivers, but now there's more patients in the state. The first 2 months of 2018, there were 16 patients being driven to appointments, and now there's 29 across the state. Guys?
All right. Do the math. You see where the problem is. Thank you very much. We're going to take a break, but coming up, Facebook has some answers as to why certain stories, ads particularly, pop up on your news feed.
I'd love to know why that is. And later, a 13-year-old is taking it upon himself to make sure the roads are safe. So I know there's a lot of emotion tied to the topic of whether or not to have safe injection sites.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So for the conversation happening here on our live feed, please keep it polite. And everyone's entitled to have their opinion on this. You know, some people feel very differently. Even people who have had a direct impact or who've been touched directly by the opioid crisis feel differently about this too. So just use a little respect. And Heather, you would self-administer if you were at that site. They're not going to provide it. The only thing they would provide at these sites would be naloxone in the event of an overdose, and resources and guidance to get you in the right direction to seek treatment. Maybe you don't know that there's a local treatment center near you, or I just did that story on the Westbrook Recovery Center a couple weeks ago, and a lot of that is word of mouth. People are there because their friends told them about it. So it's one of those things. What if you don't have those friends to tell you that help's right around the corner? You know, so it's kind of like a resource center as well.
Interesting.
But yeah, it is something.
You know, bottom line, it's people trying to come up with a creative way. You may not agree, you may agree, but you know, this is such a complicated problem. You know, you got to look at just about everything, and you can eliminate things that won't work. That's what they're trying to do. Right. You know, but.
And there's such a demand with this for concrete evidence and concrete statistics
as to if these work.
Exactly. Yep. And right now there really isn't much to compare to, because no states in the United States have gone ahead and supported this statewide.
Which tells you how controversial it is there. Right.
And then across the world, there are countries, places in other countries that have this type of model, but there's really there's no model to look after in the United States that we know of.
Right. Interesting.
So, yeah. There was like so much to be said that, you know, you can only fit it in a minute and a half.
Right. Which you can say for just about every story we do.
Right.
There's so much to be said.
Exactly.
And we have to squeeze it. But we're super good at it.
Exactly.
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
All right, we're back. Facebook users are finally getting some answers about the ads they see in their news feeds, okay? And this started just today. On your feed, you find an ad, right? At the top corner, there will be 3 little dots. You click on those and you'll see a drop-down menu that includes an option that says, why am I seeing this post? This is here now to help users understand and control what they see from friends and pages and groups. This is the first time Facebook has given users insight into what activity actually influenced its algorithms.
A little transparency, I like that.
Yeah.
There's a new tool also to help Maine beer enthusiasts plan their next trip to a brewery. With the new travel guide from the Maine Brewers Guild, you can search for breweries by region, or you can select a category. Those include tasting room, tours available, and food service, because of course not all have food.
Right. And there are a plethora of tasting rooms to check out.
Exactly.
So check this out. Tightrope walkers in the Czech Republic are taking mental health awareness to new heights. People were treated to this public acrobatic display as the tightrope artists paced to and fro in midair between buildings of the Czech Health and Labor Ministries. Okay, this stunt marked the ministry's joint new plan for a mental health care in the country, which they say is designed to move mental health patients out of specialist wards and hospitals and provide more care directly in their communities. The Czech health minister says that depression was the biggest single reason for people leaving the labor force due to illness there.
Very scary.
Yeah, indeed.
Oh.
All right, coming up, we see a great April Fool's joke made by the GOAT himself.
And Keith's obviously always full of jokes, but today his forecast is legit, too legit to quit. We'll be right back. Whose jacket is that?
That's a great question.
Ah.
I couldn't figure it out by dimensions.
Ay, ay, ay.
Newsroom,
Oh, newsroom.
don't get comfy.
Eric says, I really appreciate this format. The break time conversation injects element of genuineness to the show in spite of liberal bias. I will say, I was gonna
And
say
where do you
thank
see
you.
that? Is
Yeah.
that Eric? Was his
Eric,
name?
yes,
All right. And
Eric.
what did we say that was liberal?
Yeah, we'd be curious to know what's liberal.
Eric, what did we say that was liberal biased in the last
Yeah.
break?
But thanks for appreciating the conversation.
Secretly.
All right.
Right. Right. When I go like this, you'll know.
I like your loafers.
Either that or I've got something in my eye, but it's the same thing. Yeah, I just got
Oh,
these.
liberal eyes?
Yeah, no, when I wink like this, that's when I'm secretly passing on my liberal bias.
Oh, right.
And when I use the left eye, I'm secretly passing on my conservative bias. So you have to watch the eyes.
You have
very
to watch
closely.
the eyes.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sarah.
Right. Well, therein lies the
Camera
problem.
left, Shannon. Camera left.
We're doing potholes. Is that where we are?
Potholes,
Yes.
yeah. I'm happy to just ad-lib this too.
Yeah. It's wild when you move it like that, but the camera stays still. I mean,
Right?
I know that's what it's supposed to do, but still.
It's crazy too when it does its own thing and it's like calibrating and goes
Yeah.
nuts. It's so robotic.
Oh, do we have? Are we talking after this? Yeah. I'll leave my liberal bias until after this package.
So funny.
15. All right, stand by, guys.
Okay.
All right, so this coming Wednesday, notwithstanding, because we heard what Keith had to say, spring is pretty much happening, right? And when the snow melts, we see all the potholes on the road, and they are everywhere.
And they're also wreaking havoc in Michigan too. So one boy has taken it upon himself to help fix that problem.
Cars driving on Maffitt Street can't avoid them.
They're really bad and they're doing a lot of damage to people's cars. So
Dronell Scott has watched drivers trudge through the broken road for years.
hopefully they'll get taken care of pretty soon here.
But she didn't notice. Her son Monty was also fed up.
I didn't want people like messing up their cars like my mom did, because like if somebody were to drive down the street, hit a pothole, mess up their car, spend like $600-700 on their car to get it fixed, they would be mad.
He shovels some dirt from his backyard, rolls his can up the road, and gets to work.
With the little stone, I get some of it and just put it in a pothole and pat it down to make sure it's all even. Then I get some dirt, scoop it and put it into the middle and level it out.
Unlike the job, Monty kept quiet about fixing the road.
I was at work and I got a text message from my niece and she's seen the video on Facebook.
This little boy is out here fixing the streets.
Someone took a video of him working last week and posted it to Facebook. It's now been viewed more than 50,000 times.
Get some dirt.
He didn't ask anybody to do them. He just took it upon himself to do it. And that's just the type of kid he is. When he sees there's a problem or a need and he thinks he can fix it, he'll try to fix it.
15 potholes down. But as cars tumble down Maffitt, Monty knows his work's not done.
A lot of keep doing it to keep helping the community out.
Monty's a good kid and there's a lot of great kids in this community just like him.
In Muskegon Heights, Noah Fromson.
Thank you.
13 on your side.
Oh, he was so sweet. He was
That's
concerned about his mom's car, and he wanted to prevent that from others.
Okay, so worst street.
Oh gosh, I know the parking. There's a parking lot where I go when I coach field hockey, and that's pretty bad. But that's a parking lot.
Mine is Washington Avenue in Portland on the peninsula. It is so bad.
Yeah. Ugh. You just gotta take it slow.
Lost 4 cars in there just last week.
I know, they're in there somewhere. Yeah. All right, and real quick, I wanted to show you this before we get to Keith. A water spout edging closer to a Malaysian island. Okay, the spout has been spinning or had been spinning for about 5 minutes before it briefly arrived on land. Social media users posted images of their close encounter with the water spout before it then just kind of went away. There was actually minor damage there.
I'm just going to look right to Keith because I know Keith will have something to say about this
well,
water
you
spout.
remember a couple of years ago we had a water spout on Sebago? And
yes, that's
these great pictures of it.
Yeah.
And people think they're not scary because it's over water, but it's a tornado. It's just over water.
So once it hits land, it's a tornado?
Yep.
Interesting.
And it can go back and forth in theory. But Sebago, they have all the fun. It snows there. They
have, Sebago Lake also has like the, what do you call them, on the water? You can take your boat out to get food, but the food's on the water, like the restaurant on the water.
I don't think we have time for you to figure this.
What is it called?
I don't know, I'll come back to it. Like a drive-in?
Yeah, like a drive-in, but on the water.
Oh, okay, like
you can
like
pull your boat right up.
Okay.
It's like an island for a
restaurant.
Restaurant, little island.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Good? Good? Sounds cool. I'll check it out. All right, 38 Portland, 33 in Augusta. Chilly today, especially when you take into account the winds, which were gusting over 40 miles an hour in a lot of spots earlier today. And so you have a legit wind chill for the beginning of April. Wind chill readings in the 20s, teens in the mountains, 14 in Greenville. We were just talking about how there was a grooming hold in some of the mountains, and that's not a good sign. That means that they're trying to chop ice up so you can ski on it. So they might get some better stuff here through the middle of the week. Visible satellite, clean though, nice and sunny, nothing really in the way of cloud cover. And tomorrow will be like that as well. In fact, I think tomorrow is the best day of the week. Temperatures in the mid-40s. A lot of sunshine here. The wind should settle by early tomorrow morning. And so here we are starting around 35. By the afternoon, we're into the mid-40s pretty much everywhere, except in the mountains, we're in the upper 30s to around 40 degrees. And then here comes our storm for Wednesday. We talked about it at length last week and how it had the possibility to impact us substantially. And here we go. You know, the bulk of this storm will actually be offshore. But it's a big storm, and so we catch the northwest extent of it. Start as rain most likely on Wednesday morning along the coastline even, and some wet snowflakes start working their way into the coast. Farther inland, it's likely snow, and then we get that rain-snow mix again coming on the back end. A lot of this will be intensity driven, so if it's not coming down hard, it'll flip over to rain along the coastline. When it is, it'll flip over to wet snow, and the snow continues towards Millinocket and Caribou before ending on Wednesday afternoon. So here's what we're thinking for snowfall amounts and type. There's a lot going on this map. Under an inch on the coastline, again, I think we will see wet snow, but I think it'll be hard to accumulate in a substantial manner. 1 to 3 in the shaded pink area, that's wet snow changing over to rain on the backside, so you probably end up with the slush. And the best chance of it being a real mainly snow event here will be Bangor into Millinocket and perhaps into Holton as well. 3 to 6 inches, I think, by the time this storm is done. In addition, it's going to be windy out there through Wednesday, but really windy on Wednesday night and Thursday with wind gusts of 50 to 55 miles an hour a possibility. So that's going to be a little nasty there. We've got a lot of wiggle here, so if the storm wiggles, so what I want to happen, not that it matters, is if it wiggles farther west, it'll be totally rain along the coastline, but then the mountains will get in on the snow. As it stands, they're not going to get more than an inch or so out of this. So I think that would be probably best case scenario
for all involved,
for everyone. Yeah. So we'll keep an eye on it, but as it stands, it's kind of a 1 to 3 slush for a lot of us.
Got it. And it looks like it'll melt the next
day.
Yeah,
I mean, by the afternoon, we could get to 50 in a lot of spots. So that's April.
Yeah. Very good. All right, check this out. There's a city hall that's employed 500 sheep to weed out the overgrowth grass at its largest public park. This is in Madrid. The park is a former royal hunting ground with pines and shrubs stretching over 4,200 acres, so that's a lot of land to maintain. The goal is to prevent the risk of wildfires by clearing vegetation in a natural and environmentally friendly way. So instead of clearing it all with machines, 2 shepherds will look after the flock full-time as they eat away. People can actually sponsor one of the sheep by paying $35 to $100 a year to help support the project. Could make an interesting gift for somebody, I guess. Someone with a connection to Madrid.
I know, right? I think that's awesome, you know, because it's environmental, but also it's probably people are going to want to go and see and everything. It's, you know, it's kind of becomes like a tourist attraction too. Kind of
True.
Cool. All right, let's turn our attention to Cindy and see what she has for us coming up at 5:30. Hey, Cindy.
Hi, guys. People who live in Portland won't be reaching for the Roundup this spring. That is because that chemical, along with other similar weed killers, are now banned in the city of Portland because of their links to cancer. But there are other ways to get rid of pesky weeds. We're going to take a look at that. And all mascots and logos depicting Native Americans could soon be banned in the entire state of Maine. A bill preventing that is moving forward in the legislature. We'll get an update. It's all ahead at 5:30. Back to you.
All right, Cindy, thanks so much. We'll see you on News Center Maine at 5:30.
Deal.
And we'll see you guys back here with Brain Drops. Very good.
All right.
A lot of you guys are still joining in on the conversation we had earlier. Shelly says, I guess you just have to look at it with a different lens. If you provide a safe place for an adult to come forward as opposed to having them dangerously shoot up and OD, maybe they will accept help and get into rehab. Maybe they won't spread HIV and maybe they can get help with their addiction. Those were several points made by supporters today, actually, Shelly. But Leo brings up the point of not really wanting it in his backyard, not in his neighborhood. That is a concern. You know, where would these sites go? That's unknown right now. Oh, and Eric, are you talking about the floating restaurant? So there's one on Rang Pond as well. That's cool. Like a sandbar, a floating restaurant. Sandbar was the word I was looking for, Keith.
Okay.
Sandbar.
I was getting a little concerned. We didn't have time for it.
They just announced today in Boston Harbor there's going to be one that has a Chinese food place, a burger place, and a third thing.
Is it real?
I don't know. That's the thing.
Every announcement that's come out today, I have to be like,
That's
is it
the
real?
thing. I know. It's. I know. I know. I don't know. It seemed legit. But I didn't vet it too closely.
It'd be pretty expensive though if it's in Boston Harbor and you have to play your boat up.
Yeah.
I feel like that sounds really expensive.
Wait, I didn't see that the Patriots responded.
Did they? I actually haven't seen any of this today.
My friend works for the Patriots doing social media, so I bet you like posted that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, what's the gaffe they inadvertently had though? It was like right after the Robert Kraft thing, they had some posts that like, we're all for happy endings, and it was like an ending to a good story.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, what? And they had to delete it.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. They post some good stuff. 30 away.
That's Liam's favorite.
Oh, Liam.
I know. And Coco. Coco. The tweet can be up. That's fine.
Yeah, take me down. Long enough. I gotta readjust, then I'll be ready.
I saw you come up and I hadn't been on the whole.
All right, you guys, if you're on the Twitter today, you might have seen this Tom Brady retiring tweet. Yeah, the tweet said simply, I'm retiring. In my spare time, I'll be tweeting. And yes, the internet exploded. By mid-afternoon, it had 26,000 retweets and more than 4,000 comments. Some were concerned. A lot of the responders, though, realized it was an April Fool's joke right away. One of the best responses was from a former teammate, Teddy Bruschi, who called it a Twitter rookie move. At any rate, rest easy. TB12 is here to stay for now.
I actually think it had none of the characteristics of a good April Fool's joke. It's not believable. And he joined a new platform to tweet it out. Like that's,
sure.
You know what I mean? Like if he was using Twitter a lot and he said something like that he hurt himself, people would believe that.
Do you think Twitter paid him to do this?
I don't know. It's a good question. They did respond in there.
Yeah.
So something. All right. Today is a little bit more of like a think about it brain drops and what your opinion is. I'd love to hear from you. So this article on NPR was about 3 Mile Island, which I'm sure you're familiar with. You can scroll down a little bit here. They had an issue in the late 70s with a nuclear reactor there that turned out to not be as big a deal as they thought, but it scared people from nuclear power, a lot of people in the United States, in addition to international problems with a few of these reactors. So what I'm getting at here is a lot of people who are clean energy proponents are starting to say, hey, we've got these carbon zero sources of energy, and we're afraid to use them in nuclear reactors. Let's go to the next graphic here. So from 2007 to 2015, you'll notice nuclear has stayed the same. Coal has declined. Natural gas has increased. Now, natural gas is cleaner than coal, but it's still a fossil fuel, right? So the problem with nuclear is twofold. People are afraid of it, and it's a bit more expensive to produce. So, what's the right thing to do here? If you're looking at climate change and you're trying to solve some problems, nuclear energy is one of the quickest ways we could get there because we have the infrastructure and we know how to do it. But is the risk, or the perceived risk, too high? And so this is kind of split, within the climate change community, whether or not nuclear is a viable option to go forward. But it's a lot faster of a ramp up than some of our renewables that are starting to get there, but they just take a long time because
renewables being wind, solar.
Wind, solar, yep.
Gotcha.
So, and obviously natural gas has been taking over because it's cheaper and cleaner.
And with wind too, we still have the issue of how do we store extra power.
Correct. And which is part of CMP's whole thing, by the way, is that everyone doesn't want the power to go down to Massachusetts. It's a supply and demand issue. If we don't use renewable energy, it goes away. So we send it down the grid until it's used. But I don't know, just interested to think, are you afraid of nuclear? Do you like the idea?
I don't know. Definitely something to keep you up at night thinking about. Thanks, Keith. News Center Maine at 5:30 starts right now. This is going to keep me up at night.
It's fine.
Bye, Facebook.